pandemic in accordance with the Governor's Emergency Order Number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04. This public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing YouTube live stream for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone, 603-236-4730, or by clicking on the following website address, www.watervillevalley.org, or you can text, right, Mark, to 603-254-6708. Okay. B, we are providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website at www.watervillevalley.org. Part C, we are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-236-4730 or email at townofwatervillevalley at townofwv@watervillevalley.org. And D, we can adjourn the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by a roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. And this is Margaret Turner, and I am the chair of the board, and I am home alone.
This is Rich Rita. I am the vice chair and I am alone.
Mike Aronson, alone.
Okay. I think we have at least a couple of visitors. We may want to deal with what they need to say or know first. And I see you are there, Craig Larson. So would you like to talk to us about parking?
Yes, thank you very much. As you probably know, the summer's a little different than most other summers. We have very much an influx of area residents, year-round residents, seasonal residents. And lately we've been having a big influx of transient guests and whatnot. We're having problems, obviously, parking cars safely and in a safe manner on the properties. We are asking at this time for parking on the street on Valley Road opposite the clubhouse.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments on that? Rich? Mike?
Okay, since you called me first, I will say a few things. I am reluctant to agree to this request. I am concerned about safety, as we had discussed in the past, with the bicyclists and people walking. Unlike the winter, where there's not much of an issue in that regard, along a curved road, especially because this is a very popular stretch for bicyclists that lead up to Boulder Path and West Branch Road and onward to Livermore. I worry about the aesthetics of having cars parked there. I worry about the fact that this is back to safety, that We do have an issue with cars going too fast and having more obstruction, even though it's off the road, would perhaps be an issue for people maybe darting between cars at the wrong time. That would not be there if the cars were not there. I wonder if there is another solution. For example, perhaps parking along Village, which is more of a straight shot and more open, Village Road that is, or perhaps in the maintenance area of the golf club, if there can be some rearranging in there to get some cars in there. I think that was also an off-park, a extra parking area at one point. And I also wonder about the days that we may be talking, 7 days a week, Saturdays only, Sunday, that sort of thing. So those are my initial opening comments, and I'm ready to discuss this with everybody and anybody.
Okay, Mike, let me speak Craig first, please. Mike here, and what I'd like to say is that I think it worked well this winter. I think it's a logical place. I think it's defined parking, not anywhere parking. And I think the safety issue becomes much more severe with the cars that are going to park further up on Moose Crossing. So it's a wider area, it's a safer area, it's a more well-defined area. I think, or put it this way, I don't have a problem continuing with it for the rest of the summer, because there are only a few weeks left, and we can investigate it, because I think we're going to need to look into parking throughout the valley as we grow with more people and more activities. What's going to happen if these weddings start getting bigger and there's no room down at the wedding site for parking? Or as being a merchant in town square, seeing with big hockey and ski weekends, the parking goes away in town square quickly where there is more snow. And it's one of the issues that we seem to look at as a whole. But I would defer to public safety to see what they say in regards to this request. Thanks.
David or Chris?
Dave, do you want it or you want me to take it?
Sure, I'll go. This one spot, I absolutely agree with Mike that this is much more than just a golf course issue. It's a town-wide issue that I think we certainly need a longer look at. I do understand that this is a temporary issue right now that I think needs a solution. And I think that spot over there, it has been used in the past. We've allowed the use for special events, 4th of July, that sort of thing. And it is one of the only places that is wide enough with a good sight distance that I'm comfortable with allowing cars to be parked alongside the road. I know we discussed the plan and we can get into the greater details about the bump out, but we did discuss it today with Mark and what that winter plan was, and kind of duplicating what that looks like, that 200 or so, 150 or 200 or so feet along the straight portion of that road, getting those cars off the road there. But I think it's certainly, I don't have a problem with it on a temporary basis. I don't want any overnight parking. And I think right now, most of the issue is based on, Friday nights, the select Thursday night leagues, and those Saturdays. So I don't think it's a real constant problem right now in this particular area. But I would certainly tend to agree that we need a solution for it, and I'm not opposed to allowing with some signage temporary parking there for the remainder of the season. And going forward, looking, I don't want to have to revisit this again, come winter. I think if the continuation of the winter plan, maybe till March, until we can actually come up with a whole town-wide plan, because this situation kind of replicates itself in many other places in town that I think we need to look at.
Yes. I tend to agree more with Mike than what I heard Rich say on this. I understand his real concern about safety issues, but I do believe that, as public safety has said, because this is a straightaway and there is good visibility, that if the area is well marked, we should be able to do it. And I think we need to come up with a plan as to what areas in town we need to expand some parking or make some parking areas and put it before the townspeople in March. And I would be in favor of continuing a temporary allowance in the meantime. I think also we need, when we review our parking needs in town, we also have to take a look at our selectmen ordinance that says no parking anywhere on streets and talk about what we're going to do with that.
If I can follow up on that, Margaret, I think the question of precedence is important here. And the fact that we do have an ordinance that's at least 30 years old where we say no parking on streets pretty much anywhere. So I do think that this is an issue, a larger issue. I think that's an excellent point. I do think, though, that this is, as you also said, this is something we need to bring to town meeting. If we're going to allow on-street parking, not just here, but in other places in town, to deal with parking issues. And just as an aside, I remain flummoxed on that, since there's a large parking area not far from the clubhouse, frankly, that's pretty empty. But if we are going to open it up on-street parking, then I think we need to look at it. We have to have the town agree to what changes that we plan to make. I would finally add that I like to have a better sense of what we're talking about here. Are we talking every day? Are we talking before I make a final decision? Are we talking every day? Are we talking Friday night, Saturday, Sunday morning? Is there Craig? Can you speak to that?
Just normally it was just Saturday. But now with the influx of residents, I mean, we're going to have problems in here this afternoon. We have a member scramble on Thursday afternoons. We usually get 12 to 16 last year. We're getting 60 people now. And it just changed drastically since May. I would say Thursday, some Fridays, Friday's not a big day, definitely Saturday, and definitely not Sunday. So it's really, I would say Saturday is our big day at all times, guaranteed. We have problems on Saturday. Thursday, 50%, Friday, 25%, Sunday, 10% at best. As far as your precedence goes, there is on-street parking now on Snows Mountain Road that you've been allowed one way or the other for 40 some odd years that I know about. So it actually predates anything that you're talking about. So I think the precedence is already there now, right this second. If you went down there today, if you went by there today, you would have witnessed on-street parking, period. We do move all the employees are parking at the maintenance garage all the time now. So we are using that, and we'll have 12 cars, 10 to 12 cars on the employee side, and they're all down the garage. Unfortunately, most of the people do not want to walk, and when they have problems walking that type of distance. So even if I created a much bigger parking lot down there, we would not fill them, or we'd have to shuttle them back and forth, actually. And that would cause more traffic because we'd have to have more vehicles on the road shuttling people around. There's a couple of things that I think on-street parking landscaped out will be kind of nice. I mean, it can be very nice. 90% of your municipalities have some form of on-street parking, and it is landscaped and it is well-defined. And just, I'm not talking about downtown Plymouth, but downtown Plymouth seems to work. So that's what we're talking about in general around town. The other thing is I don't think you want to do is very similar to Walmart. Walmart has the required parking available for the size building that they have. But you have, I mean, every time you go down there, that parking lot is only about half full, 3/4 full. In the meantime, you got one ugly looking parking lot every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Obviously, I'm the biggest landowner in the town of Waterville. I can pave just about anywhere. And I don't think that's really what you want to me to do, is to rip out some of the landscaping and start doing paving. But that's obviously what, if I was putting a Walmart in, that's what you would require. And I think you're seeing that we're only looking for parking for a couple of hours here and there. And only during certain seasons. I mean, you know, from October, November, December, we certainly don't need any parking. April, May, June, very limited. It's always going to be January, February, July, August, September, around that time period.
Margaret?
Yes,
I'd just like to point out, when we do this though, in order to keep it consistent around town, I think we ought to make it an identifiable area, and put signs up that make it very clear what the parameters of the parking are. And I think that really the only parameter that makes sense time-wise is probably no parking after dark. So it's a daytime use area, and
Hey,
if
Mark,
we make it, yeah,
I think you're gonna run into an issue as it gets darker earlier.
Well-
No parking after dark.
Yeah, 9
But-
p.m. would be good.
I'm sorry,
9 p.m. would be more than adequate year round.
I'm just wondering, we only have a couple of weeks left of, theoretically, our summer season. So I think we can get by with as minimal, changes as possible before we start throwing things out that will confuse people, as we might not adopt that in March. So I'm just thinking,
but we're gonna do this for the winter also, right, Craig?
Yes, oh yes.
Yeah, so we're going to, I want to make an identifiable spot, including signage, okay? That is very clear, so that when Dave and Chris are faced with people parking out on West Branch Road or somewhere else in town, that it's very clear what the parking, what on-street parking is being allowed. And it's an identifiable area, so that we don't get people confused around town. That's one of these major drawbacks that I see to doing this, and I've shared it with Craig what that concern is. So I just,
something on the sign, Mark, that says this is overflow parking for the Waterville Valley Clubhouse only.
well, I don't know that making it that specific is really necessary. I mean, I think if you limit the time, we can put up signs that have specific times, when it opens, when it closes. Jim's got a plan to not, it won't cost that much money. It will cost some, but to do something similar to what we did by the library, where it's not stone, but
Right.
but it's an identifiable spot for them to park. And
Right,
it won't interfere with the sidewalk, and it will get everybody off the pavement. Right, Jim?
How about
Will it be
something-
wide enough to do that?
Yeah, right now you have,
how about something simple like no overnight parking?
And that's fine. I'm okay.
This town
if
rolls
Dave,
up at 9:00.
yeah, if Dave's okay with no overnight, I'm fine with that.
I think we talked about, we said, something to the effect of temporary municipal parking, no overnight
But
parking.
people will get confused by temporary, thinking it's a drop-off zone. That's because I was thinking of going something, not the word temporary, but something like no long-term or overnight parking. But then someone's gonna think, what is long-term? Is long-term more? What are the better?
Just say no overnight parking, or parking between signs, no overnight parking.
Perfect.
That would do it for me.
Is that sufficient, Dave? Do you think that'll be okay for folks?
Yeah, we said, we had mentioned doing, parking, parking between signs, having arrows pointing that defines the area, and then just not having anything overnight would be fine.
And Jim, you can make this pretty quickly so that we can address the immediacy of this?
I can, do it just as soon as I get the material. delivered.
Can't hear you.
I can do it just as soon as, we're muted.
You know,
No, you're not. No.
No,
Okay.
just not close enough to the computer.
You're not, come closer to the computer. There you go.
I didn't want to get into Dylan's space. We can do this as soon as I can get the material delivered here. And just so you know, I've got it measured out. Your normal parallel parking space is typically 24 feet long by 8 feet wide. We've got plenty of room between where this would be, and we'll still have a grass strip between this bump out, if you want to call it that, to the edge of the sidewalk. So we got 16 feet in there, so there's plenty of room, so they'll be off the road. I can make it that way.
How long do you think before we have all the material, Jim? Is that a week, 2 weeks?
Oh, no, we can, hopefully if I can get it delivered by the first of the week, we'll be good to go.
Okay.
A couple questions, if I may. First, and maybe perhaps Craig, you could speak to this. Is this really leading towards a permanent area for your business as the solution to your parking issue?
I'm hoping so. We've been very successful, probably more successful than we thought. I think that if you.
We appreciate that.
The only other solution is to become unsuccessful and downside.
Okay. And do we have a cost on what this, shall I just call it semi-permanent at this point, since we're not talking, or are we talking about a permanent change, or are we waiting for town meeting?
Well, I think we have to address the ordinance. This
Right.
can't be permanent the way the ordinance is written. So, I think Dave and I talked about it. Under state law, the selectmen have some discretion for control of roads, and the police department as well. So I think you're adopting a temporary spot to do this. And it can be a test because, like Dave said, there are other areas we should be doing this around town.
Okay.
So
And cost?
how much is the material, Jim?
Oh, I did a quick calculation, should be around less than $1,200.
Okay, thank you.
We're willing to do some maintenance of the spot once it gets up and running, I guess, if we can put some shrubbery or flowers or something out there to make it a little bit more attractive than just a pull-off area, I guess. It would behoove us to make it look good and make it look like something.
Yeah.
Are you happy with just the way the signage is, that we're discussing the signage, Craig? I mean, anyone can park there. I don't know why they would, but
Yeah. I'm not too worried about anybody randomly parking. There will be once or twice, but I don't perceive it as such. We ran it all last winter, and I don't think there was a single person that was just walking up and down the street. Everybody that's coming in here has got a reason to come in here. There's not too many people just driving by because we're very intimate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, we need a motion, do we?
Yes, please. To do this on a temporary basis, we're requesting through March so that we don't have to come back and do this for the winter. And then after the vote, we'll come up later in the fall with some recommended changes to the ordinance that we can put before town meeting.
Okay, I will motion that we grant temporary street parking with appropriate signs through March of 2021 in the area designated by the map. Can I have a second?
Mike, I'll second.
All those in favor? Margaret, aye.
Rich, I.
Mike, aye.
Okay.
All right,
Yes.
good. So Jim, you can get that ordered.
I will.
Let's see. We also have Joe Ducharme.
So, Joe is here to talk about the well 2-3 issue. I'll screen share the 2 slides, just so people that might watch this later will know. As I wrote in the memo, oh, by the way, hi, Joe. As I wrote in the memo, we have determined that the median household income is too high for us to qualify for any program under USDA. And consequently, it disqualifies us from being eligible for the state revolving fund loan forgiveness program. So basically for this project, we are on our own as far as funding. So I asked Joe to join us so that we could just talk down through the project budget and the timeline that we would anticipate if we move forward with the project as we presented it to town meeting and the funding that they approved back in March. So we are talking about the connection of well 2 and well 3 to the new pump house and the crossing, the new crossing right here where if you can see my mouse, the new crossing of well 3, which the water will proceed this way and this way into the new treatment building. So we would be looking to start immediately. We've held off on any design work or anything like that up until this point. We would like to get started with the planning and design phase, which would be part of this line item for 124,000. It would be this line item for the 124,000. So that would be the first part of this. And did I miss anything, Joe? Timeline. Do you want to talk about timeline?
Yeah, so, no, I think you covered it well, Mark. Thank you. We did do a presentation, I think maybe December or January about this project, and it was approved at town meeting, but COVID hit and we all just hit the pause button, which I think was appropriate, as well as the timing of seeking some funding sources that might provide grant funds. And as Mark alluded to, there will, based on median household income in Waterville Valley, there's no eligibility for grants under USDA. So that holding back partly for funding determination, I think was prudent, but at this point, if the town still wants to do this project, I think we need to get moving on the design piece now. We would have preferred to start sooner, but the timing would be that we could work on design through the fall into winter, as soon as we have authorization from DES and are able to bid the project. If that timing were to be before town meeting, that would be ideal, but I'm not sure it will be, only because the permitting aspect of this, there'll be a shoreline permit and a wetlands permit for the river crossing. We anticipate the wetlands permit alone could take 6 to 9 months to get complete approval on. So, but the ultimate goal would be to get the project designed and bid so that it can be constructed in 2021. And there are some latent corrosion issues in the well 2 pump house that we would, as we would be proceeding with design of these connections of well 2 and well 3, we could work with town staff to expedite some of the piping replacement in well building 2 that would normally be part of this project anyways, just to get well 2 back into service and have it and be in reliable service, particularly through the winter months as you come up on ski season. So we could work to expedite that piece of maybe some piping replacements and reconnecting some new chemical feed pumps to improve the well 2 operation as it is today.
Yeah, that's especially important before the Christmas holiday season, to at least get well 2 checked to make sure that we have both 2 and 4 in service before the holiday period, before the winter.
Right.
Any questions about the project or the budget, or what are your feelings?
I've got one, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we got that RDA money a few years ago at the special grant, what did we pay as a % interest rate on that?
We initially about 3%,
Right.
and we converted it. If you remember, we converted it to the bond bank, and I think we're 2.5 or something like that.
Right. And the current bond rate is what, 1.3 or something?
Yes.
So in a sense, what we got as a discount the last time for going through RDA and all of their machinations, because I think a lot of our overrun cost and a lot of our just hassle was because we had gone through RDA. So if we manage the project on our own, we're going to eliminate that. Am I correct in saying that?
There are definitely hoops that we do not have to jump through.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I'm looking at the cost of money now. So we're paying actually less as a cost of money right now than we did with the grant money we got a few years ago.
That's correct.
So I just wanted to put that in perspective, which I think is a plus.
Yes. Yep.
That's a good point, Mike, and I think the motivation here was to seek USDA funding, if I may, is the prior project, the town was eligible for 45% grant on infrastructure projects, and that typically holds until the next census. So the motivation was to check to see if that 45% grant was still possible. And since it's not, you're absolutely right. Just going forward with a very low bond rate project and steering everything yourself makes a lot of sense.
But we also got trapped into a bunch of things that we believed we could have done that were reimbursable that weren't, like the pedestrian bridge part of it, which was a great idea. We went in with it. I believe we went in with it under the impression that that would be part of it, and that cost us a whole bunch of money that wasn't reimbursable or countable against our minimum.
Right. There were a lot of moving parts that evolved as that project evolved, and I agree with you. There's definitely there are added costs to using their program, but the big picture that I talked to Mark and Jim and Dylan about was, if you got 45% grant eligibility now, that holds for 10 years, and that holds for other infrastructure projects. So we thought it was worth taking the time to pursue that, but now that we know the conclusion of that, it's time to move forward.
Hey, Mike, we just checked your question about, we never converted the USDA loan to the bond bank. So we're going to look at that interest rate and see what the potential savings is. And we can tie that into this issue that we're doing here and convert it to the bond bank, because we know interest rates there are gonna be somewhere around 1.5%.
Right.
They just sold their
I thought we
July
had done
bond
that.
issue was 1.23 for a 20-year note.
Wow.
So we can save a lot of money on converting that. So we'll look at that as part of this.
I thought we had done it, but that's all right.
Yeah, I thought we did too, but we just looked and we did not follow through with that.
That's almost free money,
It is. It's very low interest rate. Yeah,
even at $1 million.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's free money without these
Without the,
onerous restrictions, which were
Right.
driving us crazy, and that's why we went over time and over budget with it.
yep. Margaret, any thoughts? Are you okay with this?
You're muted.
I'm okay with it. Do we need a motion from the board to move forward, Mark?
Yes, I would like that if you would, that'd be great. And
I'll make that.
also, wait, just one other thing in the motion, could you decide, do you want me to just start working under this $124,000 parameter as far as the contract is concerned? Or do you want to see the contract? I mean, I'll share it with you, but I mean, you want it at a meeting and you can vote to move forward right now and then vote on the contract, okaying the contract on the 9th.
Okay, so I will make a motion to move forward with doing the engineering for our water project that was approved by town meeting in this year's town meeting.
Can I amend your motion, Margaret?
You certainly may.
I just want to amend your motion to go forward and to review the contract coming in to provide services for the 124,000.
I will second the motion with amendment.
Okay, all in
This is
favor?
Rich.
Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay, thank you. Joe, we'll start working on that.
Always a pleasure, Joe.
You're muted, Joe.
You're muted, Joe.
Thank you, everyone. I
All
appreciate
right.
the time.
Look at you in your home office.
Yeah, I know, and I am by myself other than NPR, which I listen to all day. I'm an NPR junkie. So.
Poor
All
man.
right, we'll talk.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Let's do something simple.
Yeah, the budget.
We have somebody who wants to be on the Conservation Commission by the
Oh,
name
yeah.
of Ed Lucente. Can I have a motion to appoint him to the Conservation Commission?
Good idea.
I move that we.
I'm sorry. I'll make that motion, Margaret. I guess it's my turn. I move that we accept the application of Ed Lucente. Is that how you say it? Lucente, to serve on the Town Conservation Commission, to appoint him to serve on the
I will
Conservation Commission.
second that motion, and all in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay, thank you. I'll let Ed know.
Okay, Mark, have we heard anything about the stepping stones? I meant to ask you about that.
Well, no, we have not received anything back. I do not get a response to my email to the state yet. So I do not know about the SPN application approval. They did do some cutting of the brush down there, right, Jim?
Yes.
And we looked at it.
That was Tim.
Yeah, and that was Tim and his crew, yeah. Jim and I looked at it. We do have some safety concerns. I think it'll be very easy if we can get a machine down in there. I think there are sufficient rocks right there that could be moved around to provide the crossing. So I don't think that's an issue. However, there's a big dip on the ice arena end of it where this big drainage pipe comes in. Jim showed me. And it's pretty difficult to walk down in there. I think before we start advertising this, if we do get the application approved, there's gonna need to be some work down there, whether it's building a boardwalk, like, Jim mentioned, or maybe filling, right, Jim? Filling some of that area.
Yeah, we gotta do it. It's gonna be very, very difficult,
Yeah.
even for somebody with, more agility than you and I had.
Well, I think based on our time frame, I don't think we'll need to get to it this season.
No, because they wanted us to do it in August.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we're not getting anything from the state, so, so we really can't go down and do any more than what has been done. So if someone is using it on their own, I think we're okay. But there's no way we should put up signs the way it is right now, or
Right.
advertise it,
Right.
so.
I clean the brush out, but other than that, I just wait till next year.
Well, we even have stumps. I mean, the brush cutting that they did was good, but there's still stumps that need to be either covered or taken out.
Well, I meant all the stuff that's just lying around that's been cut down.
Right.
Just that, for now, I think.
Okay, let's get on to the main substance here. We want to be able to send something in on to the state on what we anticipate our revenues to be. And also get an update on where we think we're gonna finish the year and what more or less we need to do and take into consideration. So Mark, you wanna start us out here?
Yeah, so there are 4 documents four spreadsheets that I included in your packet. So document 1 is an updated year-to-date expenditure and revenue report. We've gone over both revenues and expenditures in general terms with the department heads. And the highlighted numbers on document number 1 represent line items that changed from what was approved at town meeting. So we have adjusted those numbers a little bit. And in some of them a little bit, and some of them quite a bit. I think on the revenue side that we have been conservative to make sure that we get to all of these proposed numbers. We've looked at our collections so far that are shown here on the total collected year-to-date column. And then we've added what we normally do in the last quarter of the year, making little tweaks for COVID, but we feel we can get to those numbers pretty safely. On the expenditure side, we took what we talked to you about at the beginning of June. We went back and looked at what we have had to spend.
question, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Proposed budget in expenditures and proposed budget in revenues, are the numbers we adjusted in June, is that correct? Those are going into the year numbers?
No, the numbers that are shown on document 1
Right.
are adjusted even further than June.
But they are not the numbers we went into the year going with.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
These are adjusted numbers and how we're doing against our initial 2 rounds of adjustments.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's right. These percentages collected and percentages spent are against our adjusted numbers. That's correct. So we went back on the proposed budget numbers for expenditures and we modified what we said to you in June for all the departments based on what we have had to spend year to date. And as an example, we plussed up wastewater by $10,000, we were gonna cut the, one of the line items in the departmental budget, but because of the increased requirement for services and chemical use and everything else, we put that 10,000 back in. Okay, and you can see even putting it back in, he's already about 10% ahead of where we are through the year. So we're gonna have to continue to watch that line item as we go. And remember, as far as the tax rate setting is concerned, the only effect that the expenditures have is if you decide to utilize more fund balance at the tax rate setting, knowing that we're gonna return money at the end of the year. Okay, so that's it. The state's not gonna change these numbers in their records. Okay, so this is an internal change that we're making. Mike?
When we initially went into the budget process for last year,
Yeah,
we went in, I'm just being hypothetical here.
Yeah.
We hypothetically went in with our usual return of fund balance of up between 100 and 150 a year coming back.
yeah.
Well, when we adjusted our numbers these times to make up for lack of revenue and increased expenses, did we still keep in mind the same level of fund balance return? Or did that come down as a natural occurrence as the number changed?
Well, I think today, right now, it's way down.
So
Mostly
way down
because of,
means that we are not gonna return as much fund balance.
that's correct. So,
Okay.
so here we're showing a, combined with the capital project reduction, if you look at the bottom of this page, right, you see
Yeah.
it's 191. The real return at the end of the year is gonna be 191 plus something, but I don't think that's gonna be the 200,000 that we're normally returning. I think it's gonna be a smaller plus number. Okay?
Okay, because what's got me here is when I looked at our fund balance,
Yeah,
we seem to be
document 4. Yeah.
yeah, we seem to be significantly lower than we've been in years.
Well, all I put in was the net
Right,
of, hold on, let me call it back up. All I put in was the net between the revenue change and the total reduction.
yeah,
Okay, so
Okay.
that's why it's so low. Okay, on this one, the 148 is a combination of the 118 that's showing on your document number 1, right? The net impact,
yeah,
plus a really, really conservative number of 30,000 that we put in there from the return. It's gonna be more than that, I know it will, but we just can't trust it.
no, I've got you. We've always been pleasantly surprised by our return every year. And I
Right.
don't think we're gonna have that return this year.
And a lot of that return, Mike, has always come on the revenue side.
No, I've got you.
Yeah, so I think we've got to be ultra conservative. So if you look at this document number 4, the number that we're talking about you working with is going to be, oh, am I sharing this? I'm not, sorry. So we're talking about this number right here that's 0 right now. You're gonna plug in some number based on that 118. I do have it here to some extent, but we're gonna know more on our revenue collections. We'll have the next quarter, we'll be very close to the next quarter billing for water sewer. And so we're gonna be able to tell you a little bit better where we're going for the end of the year.
Mark, and just to be clear, the voted at town meeting, 335,000, we didn't do all of those things this year.
That's
Correct.
correct. That's correct, Margaret. And if you look at this sheet, we're saying that we're definitely not gonna do $75,000 worth of that 335. And then you're gonna return that to fund balance, so you could use it. Right, to reduce the tax rate. And that's where this 118 comes from.
Or do we have to take another vote at town meeting to put the
No.
other? No.
So you do that at tax rate setting as a board of selectmen.
Now, if we had a vote at town meeting to spend 335,000 and we don't spend 75,000 because there's some projects we didn't do in 2020, do
Right.
we go in with those projects again in 2021?
No, there's
Yes,
an improvement.
if you do not encumber that money, that money's gonna lapse to fund balance, and then we'll have to re-vote again in March.
But we can encumber it.
You
Right.
can encumber it, that just makes the 191 at the bottom here go down, and it would make the 118 net impact over here go down,
Mhm.
right? And then if you look at document 4, that would decrease the 148 by some number. Now, we may do extraordinarily well for the rest of the year. Who knows? But I'm not counting on it.
Mm.
I mean, the use of fund balance just allows us to control the tax rate. I mean, you don't have to use any of the 148. We could spend the budget right down to 0. It's just gonna mean that the tax rate's gonna be higher in October.
Right.
And
And in general, we'd like to keep that rate as level as possible.
well, we'd like to, but we can't provide services at a level where we've got 100 more people than we had in May, full-time residents, and we're at a holiday week in service demand all the time.
Mm.
So, I mean, I think the rate,
We can't recoup our money right now because the only variables to our water and sewer bills are the commercial accounts. And if the commercial accounts are not having hockey and the amount of wedding people, they're not using the amount of resource that we can bill for. The rest of the stuff is a fixed account. And the only other variable where I see us getting any more money coming in is through car registrations and things like that where we can keep it. Building permits, which are also up, and things like that. We're gonna lose money on the other side, it's not a lot of money as far as our share of room and meals tax from the state goes, because that's gonna be down this year. But, it has nothing to do with our value and how many people come to Waterville Valley. The reason I'm asking the questions is I'm trying to see on the operational side where the money is. Because the capital projects, you're right, unless we encumber it, and every year we take that vote to see about releasing money or keeping it in accounts, to see whether it goes directly, it's called, fund balance use, or it is a designated account for something where we're gonna use it the next year so we don't have to revote it.
yeah.
And things like that.
Well,
So,
we do have, there's a couple of, we know we are gonna get money. We already gotten money from Primex. We know we're getting money from the Health Trust on return of premiums. All of these things are still unknowns, and I don't know how much of an impact they're gonna have.
are we getting any more COVID money that we? have
And we
applied
may
for any
get-
more COVID?
Yeah, we could always get more COVID money before December as well. So there's still a few variables, but controlling these numbers that are in gray, and that's why all the department heads are here. If you have questions, These numbers in gray are really where we have the most control at this point in time. But I will tell you, in going through this stuff, the numbers that we've laid out here on the proposed budget are about as low as they are as low as we feel we can safely go, given the number of people that we're serving on a regular basis. So there's not much flexibility in these numbers.
And therefore, we won't have the money to return to fund balance because we're playing a lot closer than we ever did.
That's what I'm projecting, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that is really noticeable that we need to pay attention to is the omen we got at the sludge pits, where that our sludge pits weren't having enough breathing room, and we're starting to show their age. Where the wall that Lee had to come in and fix, because instead of getting a few weeks off, they didn't have that.
Right.
So we have to plan for more of these things wearing out a lot earlier.
Well, and we get a lot of that type of equipment, Mike, in our facility. Look at the pictures of Well House 2 and the same type of things, not as bad probably, there's a lot of weak points in the treatment plant that, we got 40-year-old equipment that used to get a break every now and then, and right now it's not getting a break.
Right. You're not talking about Well 4. You better not be talking about
Well 2, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Well 2. Yes, I'm not talking about Well 4. So good catch, Mike. Sorry.
Are we looking at possibility, perhaps not a discussion now, re-looking at the trash and water sewer fees that are set?
I think we're going to need to, knowing what's going to happen in Bethlehem as well.
Yeah, and that's one thing that came up when we were doing the median household income survey. In talking to the state agencies and to Joe, one of the things that the state looks at, not USDA, but the state on their loan forgiveness program, is what rates are you charging for water and sewer? And we are extremely low across the state. We're in the bottom quarter of fees in the state. So if the fees are higher, then you get more credit and you may become eligible for loan forgiveness. The thought process has always been that people wanted it in the tax rate because they got a break on their income tax, right? Because you could deduct it. Now, I don't know if the federal government's going to change that or it's going to be less of a break, but if we could get loan forgiveness, if we increase the rate, because it's the same owners paying, and because we have a flat fee structure, it usually stays pretty relative between the users. The only ones that you'll have to consider will be the commercials, because they pay on the use by use, right? So, but I think we should look at changing our flat rate schedule, if it makes sense.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah,
could you call DRA and see if we took our water and sewer bill and designated it as a part of our tax rate, it would still qualify under these programs because it's being set as a rate and it can be deductible? You follow what I'm saying?
yeah.
That
Well,
if we took it out
is,
of the, if we had a
that is-
regular.
Go ahead.
a second. If we had our regular tax rate and then there was a separate tax rate for water and sewer that was defined at per user cost or per on our tap rate, some kind of formula like that, would it accomplish two things? Would it give us the ability to raise the rate enough to get this loan forgiveness, and also as a result of raising the rate, making it part of the tax rate, so it wouldn't be very objectable to the population because they can deduct it?
That is a good question, and I believe the answer to that is yes. We could form a water and sewer district.
Yeah.
That would be under a board, okay, and they would be a legal entity, and they would run the water and sewer systems, and they would provide the money, they would provide an amount that they needed to run those departments, okay? That would go into the tax rate. It would be a separate line item on our tax bills, okay? So that it would become part of the overall rate. But yes, that is done in towns all over the state.
Okay.
I would just simply say for anyone listening in the background, we are also in the bottom quarter of tax rate in New Hampshire, town tax.
That's right.
So we're low.
Yeah, so I think that starts to address a couple of issues, Mike, and it may make us more eligible. So we can definitely start looking at that. The only thing is it's going to be totally divorced then from the Board of Selectmen, because they'll have their own board, and they make all the decisions. They have their own meetings and everything else. So it's a little more complicated on that end, but
They set the fees.
they set the fees, they do everything. They administer the whole thing.
This is water and sewer only, not trash, correct?
I don't know if trash can be rolled into the district, but we can look at that, Rich. Up to you.
Right. That's about the issue we're having with Bethlehem and whether this is all part of a same waste issue.
However, whatever you,
Right.
we'll look into it. But I think we need to start talking about it
Sure.
soon. Only because we gotta find out what the process is. You have found something I haven't done in 27 years, Rich.
So Mark, what do you
Okay.
need from us today after we've talked through all this information?
Okay.
Approval of the numbers that are on document number 2. And what we will do is if you approve the adjusted budget numbers on document number 2, let me just quickly share that for you. Column over here.
That's the one that shows a proposed reduction in income of $42,969.90.
That's it.
Don't we have to
You
talk
can-
about document 3 before we can approve document 2? Or are these additional cuts?
Well, there are cuts on the expenditure side on document 3, Mike. Document 2
But
is
I'm
just the revenue.
Did we not approve of those, of document 3 of those reductions? Did we
You
not already do that?
Yes, you approved these reductions except for the yellow boxes where we zeroed it out.
Right,
So there were numbers in there before.
because we were close
Okay,
to
so this-
200, right?
It was over 200.
Right.
Yeah.
So these
So-
are document 3's approved, basically,
Well-
minus changes.
Yeah, yes, we would just need to get you to say, okay, we understand we're using Shakespeare.
Right.
You already
Okay.
approved that.
Thank you.
So, Mike, does that answer your question about the relationship between these two?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if there are any changes in document 3 from when we had seen these numbers before.
The changes are right here
No,
with
I know
solid waste,
your yellows are there. But
the yellow.
with talking with, the sludge, looking at the sludge line being omitted and having the problems we're having over there now. I'm just wondering if these numbers, like an example, like our general assistance payments, that's a number we really can't control that much.
Right.
Police, prosecutor, we can't control that either. Am I
No, we
correct?
can't, but we can cut all of these numbers,
Right.
all right?
And none of the ones
And-
I'm talking about are big. The big ones that are in there,
That's
we're
right.
not gonna get a plow, we're not gonna hear. The sludge drying maintenance.
That's right.
The parks, part-time wages. The other stuff we're gonna have to live with, and, hopefully it won't be that bad.
Okay, so again, the change is this is what we're reporting to the state, the changed numbers on document.
Right.
And obviously, like Margaret, like,
Oh, they only want to know about revenues at this point.
that's correct.
To your point, there's a lot of programming that we've relied upon in the past.
They may need more classroom space. So their plan to use the multipurpose room eating only, right? That's what their plan was, Brooke,
Yes.
if I had that right.
There-
That
yeah.
may have to become, can you give me just 1 second,
I
sorry.
think in terms of that, I don't know if that changes things for us really. It'll still mean that, that we have it on the weekends. I think we'll be able to use that on the weekends still.
So
Mark, I was just saying, I think we'll still be able to use the multipurpose room on the weekends if we.
Okay, good.
uh,
I'm just concerned that they turn it into a classroom and you lose it.
Well, kind of situation, then I think we would, but because they're having lunch in there, I mean, who knows? I
Right.
think we just have to wait and see what happens when they start school and how many kids they have.
well, it sounds like we're gonna lose that on revenues.
Oh, that's what I'm gonna ask Brooke to do. Brooke, if you wouldn't mind, for probably not the next meeting, because you won't have an idea, but the meeting after our next meeting, could you write us a dialogue of what the rec department, do you think it's gonna look like for the next 6 months?
I can tell you that based on what I know, whatever day I write it. And I.
Yeah, but I think once
Fair
the
enough.
school,
Definitely, I could try to do that. I mean, I have tried to kind of.
yeah, but it changes every day.
Exactly. I mean, right now revenues that we adjusted is sort of the best I can do right now. And we tried to go conservative. But we are looking at other programs, and I can let you know kind of what our plan is based on what happens when school
Yeah.
starts.
Yes.
No, that's what I'd like to see.
Plus, we are taking over, for the record, the school was going to take over the after-school program as they did last spring, correct? Now they are not doing that.
Right.
So the town taking that over?
They started early on saying that they would not be able to offer their after-school program. I had heard about that, so I approached Gail. She said, yeah, that's fine. The school wasn't really expecting after school, but that if you want to. So I did a survey, collecting results. There's a lot of kids that we're not going to be able to serve probably all the kids, but right now we're working on some kind of program that can hopefully serve, some of the K through 4th graders.
Right. And do we
So
expect, I'm sorry, just one more question. Do we expect that to be an income generator or a net loss?
No, that will probably be an income generator, I would say, or just flat.
Not a
I
lot,
don't know.
I imagine.
It'll pay for itself.
Okay, so let's call it revenue neutral. It's not gonna be a lot anyway.
Right. I mean, it is included. That is included with this. Here is my
Right.
sort of projection of the revenue that will bring in. But if you're looking at both sides,
Okay,
And just so you have a reference here on document 2, right? This 43,000 in recreation and the 43,000 in parks doesn't reflect the after school, right, Brooke? And it's based on, So if there is the opportunity to run additional programs, these numbers will be better. But right, revenue projection that we made it just because of the change in program and her ability to even run the programs. So it has a major impact, obviously, on what we're doing.
Well, especially parks, from what if I understand this correctly.
Yes,
It's a
Yeah.
2/3 loss, no, not loss, but two-thirds less revenue.
change,
anticipated,
right, from what we were projecting,
And 40% for the rec.
Yeah,
right.
so we're gonna really have to look at these things and see how,
Yeah.
what it's gonna look like going forward and how we're gonna make it work.
And I understand completely, Brooke, in this COVID world, God only knows, literally, to trying to plan things, it's gonna be difficult, but whatever you can come up with would be very helpful, and I certainly would understand that it's at that moment as things stand, given the way the world.
31st, is that right?
Yeah, once you get an idea of what the school program is gonna look like, and if you're gonna have space to do stuff, and if you can operate adult programming while the school is in session, if they're gonna take too much space.
No,
You don't know?
they're not gonna let us do that during the day.
So there's gonna be no more pickleball inside?
No,
So,
All right, well, the
Is this
issue.
something that's, I'm sorry, but is this something in accord with our use agreement, or is that something we need to talk to them about?
well, it's not within our agreement, but it's required by the guidance that they have to run the school building.
it's similar to what we had to do during summer camp, but it didn't
Right.
become an issue because we were within our use on the use agreement, so it didn't conflict with another party. Now they're having the same expectation and by guidance that we had for summer camp, but now it poses a problem because we would both like to share the space. So that's why it's only coming up now.
Right.
It's unfortunate for us.
Is it, I don't know, I'm just wondering about the townspeople who enjoy the indoor pickleball, and is there a way we can get that back somehow?
Yeah,
No,
so I
no.
did talk to one townsperson regarding this. I'm sorry. About the pickleball courts because they have been playing outside.
Mhm, right.
And that's been going well, but of course that's only gonna last a little while. So, they were asking if they could do it on Saturdays, and I said, yeah, I asked Gail on that. It is possible to do on Saturdays.
Okay,
But it won't be the same, before, we're always putting in open gyms and taught open gyms and pickleball in between their recesses and PE classes,
Right.
and now we're not gonna be able to do that. So, if, an after-school program that involves their kids.
And I think that's major because we've had all of these young families move into town. A lot of them have toddlers, a lot of them, younger kids. And so the demand is going to be there, but we're not going to be able to fulfill it.
I think they would be open to another solution, but to be honest, I think what that would include is us cleaning it. So, having another.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
They did not say, they said no. I'm saying maybe they would be open to
Right.
a suggestion if we hired our own custodian and we had, it's very, very, it's a lot of cleaning.
Okay,
Right.
let me just bring up the big point I'm trying to make about this. That the previous existing town census, meaning the people that, not the new people, the 400 that were here before, when we looked in the past, have looked at the rec department, we were willing to absorb the kind of losses that we've had because there was programming for all people in town. The townspeople, not just the school kids. So I think if we wind up in a situation, once people understand that there isn't going to be stuff for the adults to do there because the school taking over the facility, there might be some different reactions to our asking for the kind of budget losses that we've taken in the past.
Right, and it's also gonna depend on how long these restrictions stay in place. So,
Well, it's not the restrictions, it's the fact you got 60 kids in a school now.
anyway.
It's gonna take up a lot more space than 30 kids.
Right, but a lot of what we did was in the gym. That's not gonna be impacted. What's impacting the gym at this point in time is the new guidance. So we, even with the additional children in there, we probably could have carved out times to go into the gym.
Well,
But
let's see
that's
what
not
happens.
possible
Definitely.
because of the guidance.
That's definitely true. The 60 kids is not, would not be impacting our space aside from the multi-purpose room, which we didn't use during the day. It was just the gym. The only reason this is a problem is because of COVID.
Well, we'll see.
It's the cleaning requirement, right, Brooke?
Yes. Wiley works from, I think, 6 a.m. to like 2:30 or 3 or I don't know. He's here early. And so he has said that, he can get in there and clean the multi-purpose room in the morning. So if we have the after school program in there or something, but on the weekends, he can't help at all.
All right, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we have to certainly raise to the town at large in terms of having a very, very limited rec department offerings basically this fall and spring.
Well, hopefully that changes, with, I still, of course, it's a temporary thing. It's just how long is it going to be?
I think we can say through the school year, probably. Unfortunately.
Right.
But anyway, I look forward to your write-up, your report.
Okay.
That'd be for the meeting on the 23rd of September.
Okay.
Yeah, not for the 9th, for the 23rd.
Okay.
Because by then you will have had a month's experience of school being in session, Brooke.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you can figure out a way to perhaps run some of these programs, I mean, be very open in your thinking.
Yes, and we are. I mean, we've been brainstorming different programs that we can offer.
Yeah, all outdoor, I'm afraid.
Yeah. The upside is that, if we can still run our programs on the weekends, we have a lot more people in town to entertain, so our weeks that are really lucrative are the February vacation week. We have that same population here, a lot more. So we're able to run programs and have more participants. I mean, there are some upsides to having these bigger groups in town if we can.
Well, we haven't seen that yet.
Excuse me?
We haven't seen that yet, especially in parks and the other things. People still want to keep their distance.
Right. Well, we haven't offered any of those general program things that I'm talking about right now because we had the building totally shut down for camps. So what I'm saying is we do have an opportunity to run some of those programs, I think, on the weekends now.
Okay.
So it would be a motion to approve the revenues as stated in document 2.
Okay, I will make the motion to approve the revenues as stated in document 2 be a loss of $42,969.92, our best available information at this time. Can I have a second?
I will second that motion. This is Rich.
All right, Margaret made the motion, Rich seconded. All in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Like I,
Dave, thank you.
Anything else, Mark, that we need to go over?
No, not at this time. We're good.
Margaret, may I raise just one other question?
Sure.
Mark, any movement on the donor town issue? Speaking of school?
No, I will finish the letter. I just didn't want to clutter the agenda any more than we had.
Okay.
We definitely need to get your letter out, and I will work on that. And I'll circulate that electronically to you.
And also to Mike Fergal and the school board?
I talked to Mike about it today, and they're Mike and Tim, and they're talking about it.
Historically is that when we had this situation in the past, what happened is there were some towns who got some extra money. They spent it on fire engines, new town buildings. They did not spend it on education.
I
So
did that.
very concerned about that part of things too.
I bought a new fire truck in Rochester, just so you know.
Yes,
That you
yes,
are telling the truth.
yeah.
So it's an addiction buying these new fire trucks?
It is. It's what I do.
All right, so I guess we're ready to adjourn. I will make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
This is Mike. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I will second.
All right, all those in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
All right, thank you,
Thank
gentlemen.
you.
Thank you,
See
Brooke.
you.
Thank
See y'all
you.
later.
Brooke.
Take care.
Bye.
Good job, guys.